자, 그러면 11월 1일 화요일 모닝 헤드라인스 뉴스캐스터 레이와 함께 시작합니다.
The recent rise in employment for people aged 60 or older has been attributed to a rise in living costs, insufficient public pension benefits, and a lack of financial support from adult children.
최근 60세 이상 고령층의 취업자 수 증가는 생활비가 급증한 가운데 낮은 공적 연금 수준과 성인 자녀로부터 받는 지원금 감소 때문인 것으로 분석됐습니다.
South Korea and the United States have kicked off a 5-day joint aerial exercise called Vigilant Storm, mobilizing more than 240 aircraft, including advanced stealth jets.
5일간 진행되는 한미 연합공중훈련 비질런트 스톰이 시작됐습니다. 이번 훈련에는 첨단 스텔스기를 포함한 240여 대의 군용기가 동원됩니다.
Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has been elected the next president of Brazil after defeating his rival incumbent Jair Bolsonaro by a razor-thin margin, becoming the first president in the country to win a third term.
브라질의 루이스 이나시오 룰라 다 시우바 전 대통령이 대선 결선 투표에서 초박빙 승부 끝에 브라질 역사상 첫 3선 대통령에 오르게 됐습니다.
Workers have reportedly broken out of Apple's largest iPhone assembly factory in China in a bid to return to their hometowns after a COVID outbreak forced staff to lock down at the workplace.
중국에 위치한 세계 최대의 아이폰 공장에서 코로나19로 봉쇄됐던 노동자들이 고향으로 가기 위해 대규모 탈출에 나선 것으로 알려졌습니다.
The United Nations, Turkey, and Ukraine have decided to press ahead to implement the Black Sea Grain Initiative, despite Russia having abandoned the deal that allows grain exports from Ukraine to world markets.
러시아가 흑해 곡물 이니셔티브 참여 중단을 선언했지만 유엔과 튀르키예 그리고 우크라이나는 협정에 따른 곡물 수송을 계속하기로 했습니다. And those are today's headlines. Morning Headline Expressions. From the headlines today, let's have a look at the key expressions one more time. 자, 첫 번째 헤드라인에서는요, be attributed to something 이라는 표현도 나왔었지만, 그 다음에 living costs, 생활비 있었죠. So let's look at both. Be attributed to something means it was because of something.
Right, that was the reason. That was the cause of something. And so if you say A has been attributed to B, then it means B caused the change in A. It's usually like a situation has changed. Performance of, say a team or a company, and that can be positive or negative. And then, well, what's the reason for it? What can we attribute that to?
So when it comes to grain exports coming out of Ukraine, it's been quite limited. That can be attributed to the war.
Exactly.
Between Russia and Ukraine.
Exactly.
So if you attribute something to something, then that means it's because of.
That's the reason, the cause, yeah.
But you can use it in a positive nuance too, right? Can you use it in a positive way? So I think you said earlier on the company's success can be attributed to the workers.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's a positive
for
connotation.
sure. Because that's the thing is like you're talking about the change or the development in a situation, whether it's positive or negative. All you're doing is saying the reason for that change.
So there's a positive and a negative connotation. 그 뉘앙스가 긍정적일 수도 있고요. 부정적일 수도 있습니다. 무엇에 기인한다라는 뜻으로 이것 때문이다. Something can be attributed to A. 자, 그 다음에 living costs가 바로 생활비입니다.
You'll also see cost of living is another way to say it, right? And we're just talking about the things that everybody needs to survive. The big ones, housing, food, and clothing.
Sure.
And then there's other everyday costs, say like healthcare, for example, medicine, things of that nature.
Exactly. So people age 60 or above, they have to spend more because the cost of living has gone up.
Cost of living's gone up, but their pensions are not going
Yeah.
up, and they're saying a lot of them are not receiving as much money from adult children these days.
So even if they don't earn a lot of money, they still want to work because they need that extra cash.
Yeah, and some are saying it's involuntary. They need to work opposed to wanting to work.
They need to work. It's involuntary. 네, 정말 이렇게 받는 돈은 좀 줄어들었고요. 써야 하는 돈은 늘고 이러다 보니까 일을 할 수밖에 없는 그런 상황에 놓인 분들이 많다고 합니다. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Headline number 2에서는요. 240 or so aircraft have been mobilized.
Mobilize. They're getting them ready to use them for these drills. If sometimes you'll read that a country might mobilize their armed forces,
Yes.
meaning getting them prepared to actually do battle, getting them moving.
Yep.
That's the idea. When I hear mobilize, I'm like, oh, they're getting it moving. They're getting it ready.
mobilize troops라고 하면은 군 인력을 배치하다 아니면 동원하다라는 뜻이 되겠고요. 여기서는 240여 대의 군용기가 동원됐다라는 뜻으로 어제부터 이제 11월 4일까지 5일 동안 이 joint aerial exercise, or joint air drill, 한미 합동 공중훈련이 시행되고 있습니다. 그래서 거기에 이제 동원되는 mobilized 되는 aircraft가 240대 이상이다. It's a huge, very large-scale exercise.
Right. And the Australian Air Force is joining this time
That's
too
right,
for the
yeah.
first time.
The Australian Air Force or the military or what's
Air
the
Force.
word? Air Force. Yeah, they're joining for the first time as well. Okay, and in the third headline, 브라질 소식이었는데요. 바로 룰라 전 대통령이 당선이 됐습니다. 그래서 여기서 정말 초박빙이었다 이런 뜻으로 he won by a razor-thin margin.
Very, very thin. It was less than 2 percentage points. The closest election win in Brazilian history, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. 정말 초박빙 승부를 통해서 이렇게 룰라 전 대통령이 당선인이 됐습니다. 그래서 3선에 성공을 하게 됐는데 브라질에서는 첫 3선 대통령이 된다라는 소식도 들려드렸고요. razor라는 게 그 면도 날이에요. 그래서 그만큼 정말 근소한 차이로 이렇게 이겼다 이렇게 볼 수 있고요. 그 다음에는 네 번째 헤드라인입니다. To force someone to do something.
Not a good thing. If you force them to do something, you make them do it. And a lot of the time, most of the time, they don't want to do it. So you're forcing someone to do something unwillingly. And the way that's usually done is by threats of violence or actual violence. Or like if a parent forces a kid to do something, it's punishment perhaps they threaten them with.
Force someone to do something. 강제로 뭐뭐 하게 하다라는 뜻인데요. 중국에 있는 이 퍽스콘이라고 하는 하청업체, 애플사의 하청업체입니다. 그래서 이 공장 중에서는 정말 최대 규모라고 하고요. 그런데 거기에서 코로나 확진자가 나오자 다 락다운에 들어갔어요. 강제로. The people there were forced to lock down, and then a couple of people decided to break away or break out.
Yeah,
yes.
that's kind of scary to think you got to escape from your workplace.
그러니까요. 자, 일터에서 탈출을 한 그 노동자들의 얘기였죠. A lot of people broke out and they walked home because of the circumstances there. They couldn't take public transport.
Right.
자, 마지막 헤드라인에서는요. implement something이라는 표현이 나오는데요. The Black Sea Grain Initiative, this deal was signed between the UN and Ukraine and Russia and Turkey. But then Russia, a couple of days ago, said, we're pulling out.
They didn't say they were pulling out.
Not
means that
completely,
they would be stopping it. They're just saying, we're not going to be involved for the time being.
We don't know until when.
And they use the word like an indefinite term. So if something is indefinite, we don't know when it's going to end. So sometimes in sports, a player might get in trouble and they can be suspended indefinitely.
Exactly. However, the UN and Turkey and Ukraine have said, we're still going to go ahead with it.
Yeah.
We're going to press ahead to implement this deal.
Right. So when you implement something, you put it into effect. You put it into place. So this initiative, this plan, it's already been implemented. So really, they're just going to keep implementing it. They're just going to carry on with it. They're going to
Yeah.
do their best. They're going to press ahead. When we use press ahead or press on, we mean that we're going to do something, continue doing something, even though there's problems, even though it's difficult. And it's like the idea is that you sort of fight through that difficulty. You
네.
overcome those obstacles.
네, 그래서 이 흑해 곡물 협정을 이행하는 데에 이제 초점을 맞추고 계속 하겠다. 밀고 나가겠다. Press ahead to implement. 이것을 시행하기 위해서 밀고 나가겠다라는 얘기고요. 실제로 어제 계속해서 수출을 하고 있는 모습입니다. 자, 이렇게 헤드라인에서 나온 표현들 리뷰해봤고요. 모닝 헤드라인 익스프레션스는 오디오 어학당과 유튜브에서 무료로 다시 듣기 하실 수 있습니다.